My name is Allison Parker, and at 34, I had finally achieved a lifelong dream, owning a beautiful home in the suburbs of Boston. After years of sacrifice and hard work climbing the corporate ladder, I had saved enough to afford a $2 million property that symbolized everything I had strived for. It should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, what should have been pure joy turned into a nightmare when, during my housewarming party, my sister Rachel made a shocking announcement that left everyone stunned, including me. I had grown up in a normal, middle-class neighborhood in Boston. On the outside, our family was relatively ordinary. We never had lavish possessions, but my parents always made sure Rachel and I had what we needed. The house wasn't big or fancy, but it was warm and full of life. I remember the walls being painted with bright colors, my sisters doing, no doubt, and the living room always filled with the quiet buzz of everyday family moments. Homework at the kitchen table, laughter at the TV, the scent of my dad's cooking coming from the stove. In that home, Rachel was both my confidant and sometimes a second mother. She was 4 years older, and she helped me with math homework, stood up for me when bullies came around, and even let me borrow her clothes on occasion. We fought like sisters, yes, but more often we whispered secrets in the darkness and dreamed together of the future. As we grew up, our lives took very different paths. Rachel met Tom, the steady and kind man who would become her husband, during college. By 23, they were married and started a family. By the time she was 30, Rachel was already the mother of 4 girls, Lily, 12, Emma, 10, Sophie, 8, and baby Mia, who had just turned 5. When Lily was born, Rachel made the tough decision to drop out of college and focus on motherhood. In the photos she sent me over the years, she often looked tired but glowing, one hand cradling a baby as she juggled the older kids. Their days were chaotic and beautiful, driving carpools, morning pancake breakfasts, and nightly story time before bed. It wasn't easy for Rachel and Tom, caring for 4 growing children on a single income stretched every dollar. They were far from poor, but every expense had to be planned, new shoes each season, sports equipment, birthday parties with friends. I admired how they managed. They did it with love and never complained to me. My path, on the other hand, was quite different. I threw myself into my education and career. With my parents' unwavering support, I earned a full scholarship to MIT, where I studied computer science. While Rachel was out buying diapers or arranging playdates, I was interning at tech startups and coding late into the night. I skipped Friday night dinners and postponed vacations to meet project deadlines or study advanced algorithms. By the time she was decorating her modest 3-bedroom home, I was already working as an engineer on big tech projects. By 28, I had become the youngest female chief technology officer in my company's history. I remember the pride that swelled in me the day my boss told me I had made history. No woman had ever held that title so young. That moment validated all the sacrifices, the skipped social life, the weekends in the office, the missed family gatherings. A few years later, at 32, I received an even bigger offer. A larger tech firm wanted me to lead their technology department, and they doubled my already substantial salary. Yet through all those years, I lived modestly. I had a small but cozy apartment in the city, a practical sedan, and I budgeted carefully. The only indulgence I allowed myself was travel. Twice a year, I'd take a break, hiking glaciers in Iceland, exploring temples in Japan, relaxing on the beaches of Bali. Those trips reminded me there was a world beyond code and screens, and they recharged me. But always, my mind was on the prize I was saving for, my dream house. Every time I received a paycheck, I'd set aside more into savings and investments, thinking, soon it will be enough. I kept a mental picture of the house I wanted. Then, finally, I found it. It was everything I had imagined and more. A stately 5-bedroom colonial on a quiet cul-de-sac lined with oak trees in one of Boston's most prestigious suburbs. I can still see it clearly, Crisp white siding, black shutters framing the windows, and a wide front porch with a deep green swing. Inside, the foyer opened to an elegant living room bathed in light and a formal dining room that begged for festive dinners. Around the corner was my dream kitchen with marble counters, stainless steel appliances, and a big island where I could prepare meals. Upstairs, 5 bedrooms awaited my plans. Outside, the house had 2 acres of meticulously landscaped grounds, a sunroom overlooking a rose garden, and a sparkling swimming pool with a view of lush green lawn. I felt like I was walking into a dream. On closing day, as I sat at the table signing the papers, I felt an indescribable sense of accomplishment. This house was the physical proof of every late night, every sacrifice, and every goal I had worked toward. I imagined my future there, peaceful Sunday mornings drinking coffee on the porch swing, summer afternoons reading by the pool, evenings curled up with a novel by the fireplace. It was almost overwhelming to think this beautiful place was mine. The joy and relief in that moment were beyond words. After years of waiting and working, I finally had something completely of my own. I couldn't wait to fill the house with my life. I had big plans for each room. The main living areas came together quickly. I furnished the living room with comfortable cream-colored couches and soft throws, and the dining room with a long table perfect for entertaining. Upstairs, however, the bedrooms were mostly empty as blank canvases. I decided what each would become. One bedroom would be my personal home gym. I was finally going to set up that treadmill and weight set I'd always wanted. Another would be my home office, where a large oak desk would face the window and bookshelves would line the walls, filled with technical manuals and favorite novels. One room would be a guest bedroom for friends or future family visits. And the last one, well, I imagined it as a cozy craft room or library with a big window seat and shelves for crafting supplies or books. Every night in that house felt like the start of a new chapter. Planning the housewarming party became an unexpected joy. I wanted to share this milestone with everyone who had helped me along the way. So I invited about 40 people, colleagues from work who had mentored me, friends from college who knew me when I was still figuring things out, neighbors from my new community who had welcomed me, and most importantly, my family. My parents, both in their 60s now, were thrilled. They had always encouraged me to follow my dreams, and I saw so much pride in their eyes when I told them about the house. I remember my mother looking at pictures of the house and exclaiming with a playful laugh, "That's a lot of house for one person, sweetheart." I laughed too, brushing off the comment. I knew what she meant, but I also knew I deserved to have as much space as I wanted. This was my dream come true. Of course, I invited Rachel and her family. When I called her with the news, her congratulations were warm, but I later realized, tinged with hesitation. "That's great, Eli," she said. "We'd love to see it." She didn't ask many questions about the house itself, which felt odd since Rachel usually loved talking about home decor. But maybe she was distracted with the kids. I shrugged off the feeling and threw myself into party prep. In the weeks leading up to the party, I threw myself into every detail. I hired an interior decorator to help set up furniture and decorate the main spaces. After all, I wanted the first impression to be wonderful. We chose neutral colors with pops of soft blue and green to make the place feel light and welcoming. Some rooms, especially upstairs, we left more minimal, saving the blank spaces for me to finalize later and perhaps get Rachel's input. I booked a top local catering service to prepare hors d'oeuvres and dinner, ordered crystal glasses and rented additional chairs, and even hired a professional bartender to mix cocktails. I spent hours curating a playlist of favorite songs, selecting menu items to cater to every taste, and arranging seating so the living room, dining room, and sunroom could all mingle together. Every detail mattered to me. On the morning of the party, I woke up feeling like I was living in a dream. I was up by 6 a.m., too excited, and maybe a bit nervous, to sleep. Even though I had arranged for a cleaning crew to come the day before, I felt compelled to do one final check myself. I wandered through the empty rooms in my pajamas, fluffing throw pillows, straightening picture frames, and making sure every countertop was spotless. By 10 a.m., the florist arrived with the arrangements I had carefully planned. White lilies in the foyer, a cheerful bouquet of wildflowers in the sunroom, and elegant roses on the dining table. The house smelled of fresh blooms. At 2 p.m., the caterers rolled in and began arranging trays of hors d'oeuvres on silver platters. Mini quiches, shrimp skewers, and bruschetta topped with heirloom tomatoes soon populated the kitchen counter. At the same time, the rental company delivered extra chairs, table linens, and glassware. Everything was falling into place. The sounds of clinking glasses and soft laughter started as a few eager friends arrived early to help with last-minute touches. Around 4:30 p.m., I realized my parents still hadn't made an appearance. I stepped outside onto the porch and dialed their number. My heart leapt when my dad answered, and he chuckled softly. "Ally, I'm right here," he said. I turned around, and there was Mom at the front door, grinning, holding a stack of napkins and wearing an apron. "I figured you might need some help," she teased. I couldn't help but laugh with relief. I gave her a hug, her presence always calmed me, and invited her in to help. We toured the house together. Inside, outside, I showed her everything. Upstairs, my mom paused at the empty bedrooms. She tilted her head thoughtfully and asked, "So, what are you going to do with all these rooms?" I told her my plans: the gym, the office, the guest room, and the craft room. She nodded, smiling, and said quietly, "It's a lot of space for one person, but I love the ideas. It's your castle after all." Then she looked me in the eye and added softly, "It just seems a shame not to share it. Your sister and those kids of hers would love having a house like this." Her comment made my heart skip. Had I done something wrong? I shook it off with a smile. This was my moment. "Let's focus on getting ready," I said, grabbing appetizers and setting them out on the kitchen counter. By 5 p.m., the first guests began to trickle through the front door. My colleague Jason and his wife were one of the earliest, carrying a potted plant as a congratulatory gift. "You did it, Allison," Jason said, eyes wide as he stepped into the foyer. "Look at this place." I hugged him, grateful for his genuine excitement. Shortly after, my college roommate Stephanie arrived, breathless from parking far away. She was wearing a summer dress and a huge smile. As she wrapped me in a hug, she laughed. "I can't believe you have your own house now." "It's incredible." I laughed with her, feeling tears of happiness prick my eyes. More guests trickled in, other coworkers I had mentored, neighbors bringing wine and small tokens, and eventually my father, who quietly appeared holding his favorite bottle of scotch. He gave me a proud hug and said simply, "The house is beautiful, sweetheart." That simple praise from him made my heart swell all over again. Around me, everyone was settling in, chatting and admiring the home. The atmosphere was just what I had hoped for, warm, joyful, and full of congratulations. I was in the middle of showing a group of neighbors the backyard and pool area when I suddenly realized one family was missing: Rachel, Tom, and the kids. It was already 6:45 p.m., and they still weren't here. My chest tightened with worry. I excused myself and stepped onto the porch to send Rachel a quick text. "Everything okay?" "The party started an hour ago," smiley face. Moments later, my phone buzzed. "Running a bit late. Tom had to finish something for work. We'll be there soon. Promise." I bit back a flicker of irritation. Of course work came first. With Tom's new responsibilities, I guessed. "At least they're on their way," I reminded myself. I smiled at my phone and texted back, "Okay, see you soon. We miss you." Then I took a deep breath, squared my shoulders, and decided to greet some more guests instead of fretting. Around 7 p.m. Just as I was considering ordering dinner for everyone, the doorbell finally rang. My heart leapt. I hurried to the entryway and opened the door. Standing there was Rachel, looking anxious. Her hair was hastily pulled back, and she had a gift bag in one hand. Tom was right behind her with a polite, slightly forced smile. The real joy came from their 4 little girls, Lily, Emma, Sophie, and Mia, who piled out of the doorway as if they'd just discovered Narnia. Lily tugged on Rachel's hand. Emma's eyes were wide with excitement. Sophie clung to Tom's leg, and little Mia toddled forward with pigtails bouncing. "Sorry we're late," Rachel said breathlessly as she gave me a quick hug. I could feel her tremor. The girls took forever to get ready. She sounded exhausted, but there was a genuine smile behind her tired eyes. "Aunt Allison, your house is like a castle," Emma exclaimed, forgetting herself as she dashed forward, nearly tripping over the rugs. Tom quickly called out, "Girls, careful," and they giggled, peeling off their shoes as they explored the high-ceilinged foyer. I hugged Rachel again and said, "It's so good to see you all." Helping Tom with the gift bag, I took it and quickly thanked them. The little girls were already running ahead into the living room, pointing and chattering about the chandeliers and the big staircase. Their arrival felt like the final piece of the puzzle. Family was here to share this moment. My father came over from the bar with a grin and offered Rachel a drink, and my mom joined in, giving the girls cookies she'd grabbed from the kitchen. Everything looked normal again. The joy I was feeling earlier had returned. For a little while, everything went on as usual. I showed Rachel and Tom around the main floor, introduced them to my friends, and made sure they had dinner and drinks. Rachel's smile was a bit nervous, but her eyes lit up as she examined each detail of the house. I joked with the kids, helping Mia find her favorite stuffed toy and making Sophie laugh by doing a silly dance. Then, just as I was getting ready to give a toast, Rachel caught my eye from across the room. Her face had gone serious. She motioned for me to join her and Tom in the kitchen. I left my guests and slipped into the kitchen to find Rachel standing by the counter with a glass of water and Tom by her side. The noise of the party faded to a dull roar as I approached. "Allison," Rachel began softly, looking a little pale. She took a breath, and I noticed her hands were trembling. "Tom and we have something we need to tell you." My throat suddenly felt dry. "Go ahead," I said, giving her as gentle a smile as I could muster. She looked at Tom, who nodded encouragingly. Rachel's voice wavered slightly. "About 3 months ago, Tom was offered a promotion. A really big one." I stared at her blankly. "It's in Chicago," she continued. The word hit me like a punch. Chicago was far, not just another state, but another life. "What?" I managed to whisper. My mind raced. Chicago would mean moving away, leaving everything, including me, behind. Rachel bit her lip and nodded. "Yes, Chicago." She exhaled. "We talked about it for weeks. It's an incredible opportunity for his career, and it would mean a bigger income for us." We were torn. We thought, at first, to just pick up and move there. Her eyes glistened with tears now. "But then we realized something. We love you so much, Allison. We didn't want to be far away from our family." She choked up a bit. "We didn't know how to say this, but we've decided. We want to be together, here." "So?" My heart was already pounding. "So," I echoed, dread building in my chest. Rachel took another trembling breath. "We want to move in with you." I felt like the wind had been knocked out of me. "Move in with me?" I managed to say. She nodded quickly, almost desperately. "Yes." We sold our house back in Massachusetts. We were going to move to Chicago, but we just realized we can't stand the thought of being apart from you. This house is so beautiful, Allison. You built it with your hard work. We thought, maybe we could make it our home too. I'm sorry if this is a horrible thing to say at your party, but we didn't know any other way. Time seemed to slow. My vision tunneled slightly. I could hear my pulse in my ears. I was standing here on my big night, and this was the bombshell my sister dropped. All I could focus on was those last words, "move in with you." My first instinct was shock. My own house, the one I'd saved for and dreamed about, suddenly felt like it was being crowded. I had pictured living here alone, maybe hosting parties like tonight, maybe someday with a partner, but always in my own space. Now it was all being shaken up. I stumbled back a step and felt my stomach clench. I don't understand, I whispered. You and the kids, to move in here? Rachel's eyes filled with tears. Yes. We'd take the upstairs, or wherever you think is best. We'd help pay rent and everything. We just want to be with our family. I could feel anger and hurt rising up inside me. Why now? I thought. On my special day? I swallowed hard. At my housewarming party? My voice came out sharper than I meant. Rachel's lip trembled. I know, I'm sorry. But I couldn't wait. I turned away from them. I needed air. I need a minute, I managed, walking out of the kitchen in a daze. Feeling tears prick the backs of my eyes, I hurried upstairs to one of the empty bedrooms, the one I had planned as a gym. I closed the door quietly behind me and leaned against it, knees weak. My breath came fast. What was I supposed to feel? Angry that she sprung this on me, or relieved that they wanted me around? Mostly I just felt overwhelmed and scared. This house was my sanctuary. It was my accomplishment. I had worked so hard for this solitude and independence. Now I felt dizzy at the thought of giving up all of that. It was suddenly as if someone had told me they would be living in every corner of my dreams. I pressed a hand to my eyes to stop the tears. What should I do? My parents said I was lucky to have family close by, but what about me? My future had always been this. Just then, I heard a soft knock on the door. It was my mother's voice. Ally, she said gently. Are you okay, sweetheart? Hearing her voice made me feel a little braver. I wiped my cheeks and cracked open the door. She stood there, concern written all over her face. Without a word, I stepped back and she came in. She held me for a moment and rubbed my shoulders. When I finally managed to speak, it came out in a rush. Rachel wants to move in with us. With me. I felt like I was near tears again. Mom's eyes softened. Oh, Allison, she murmured, pulling me into another hug. I can only imagine how you must feel. This was your day. I nodded against her. It was perfect until this. She's not trying to ruin it, Mom said quietly. She's scared. They're making a huge life change and they want to be with family. I know it's a lot to ask of you, but maybe think about what it would mean to have them around. Your house is so big and beautiful. You could make plenty of space for them. I stepped back and looked at her. I worked so hard to have a place of my own. It was always something I imagined I'd have by myself, you know. I blinked quickly to clear my eyes. Mom gave me a reassuring smile. And you deserve it, honey. You've earned every bit of this. But think about how lonely it would be here all by yourself, too. Maybe having Rachel and the girls around could make this house feel even more like a home. Her words hung in the air. I realized tears were actually sliding down my cheeks now, but they felt different, more confused than just hurt or anger. Mom squeezed my hand. Take a breath, she said. We all love you no matter what you decide. I nodded. Everyone is right here. My head was pounding, but I knew I had to face this sooner or later. With Mom beside me, I took a deep breath and asked, Can you stay here with me while I talk to her? She smiled. Of course, sweetheart. Arm in arm with my mother, I walked downstairs. The party music was still playing softly in the living room, but the mood had changed. Everyone had noticed the tension. I realized. Conversations had quieted and all eyes turned to me and Rachel as we came back into the room. I took a breath and stood in front of Rachel. Before I could say anything, she started again, voice trembling. Allison, I'm so sorry. I know this is a lot to ask. We would never have done this if it weren't so important to us. My heart still felt heavy. I swallowed and tried to steady my voice. Rachel, I began slowly, catching her gaze. I know you love me. And I love you too. My eyes scanned the room at all our family and friends. You're my sister, my best friend since childhood. I couldn't imagine life without you. But this is all happening so fast. This is my house, my dream. I'm happy for Tom's promotion, I am. But moving in here, at first I didn't see how it fit into my life. Rachel sniffled and nodded, biting her lip. I know. I would feel the same if things were reversed. I just thought, maybe if we did this together, it would be better for all of us. She glanced at the kids playing hide-and-seek in the hallway. We love our home there, but we want you here. I know it's so much to ask at once. I saw tears in her eyes. Guilt gnawed at me. How could I not understand why she wanted this so badly? They were family. My thoughts flickered to the little girls running around, my nieces, who giggled when our eyes met. I took another breath. Okay, I said quietly. The single word felt heavy, but it was out there. A silence fell over the room. Everyone's eyes were on me. Rachel's lip quivered as she managed a, okay, back at me, like a question. Okay, I repeated, more firmly this time, and then continued, of course you can move in. I mean, if you want to. If this is what you all need. I gave her a shaky smile. This house was meant to be a home, right? Why not fill it with people we love? We'll make room. Suddenly, the tension broke. Rachel's face lit up into a relieved smile, and she rushed forward to hug me again, pulling me into a tight embrace. I hugged her back, feeling tears of my own now, tears of relief and a strange happiness. Thank you, Allison, she whispered. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much this means to us. The room seemed to breathe again. My mother cheered softly in the background. Some of my friends let out a round of applause. My dad came over and gave me a proud look and a thumbs up. My heart felt full. I stepped back from the hug and said with what I hope sounded like confidence, why don't we figure out rooms? The girls can pick upstairs, there's plenty of space. They can share bedrooms if they want. Lily and Emma had come over at the sound of our voices. And Allison. Lily asked eagerly, can we have rooms now? Yes, I laughed, feeling warm. You girls can pick. There are 4 bedrooms upstairs all to choose from. The younger girls squealed with excitement and ran to the staircase, already eyeballing their future rooms. As they trotted off, I turned to Rachel and Tom. We'll make it work, I said firmly. We'll rearrange things downstairs, so you guys have space too. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. Tom let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding and gave me a relieved smile. Thank you, Allison, he said quietly. Thank you, thank you. I felt a wave of happiness wash over me. Yes, my perfect plan of solitude had changed in an instant, but in its place came something I hadn't even realized I needed. Family all around me in the home I'd created. That night, the house truly felt alive. Music softly started again and laughter resumed with even more energy than before. The little girls ran through every room, showing off which bedroom they wanted and playing games in the hallway. Neighbors and friends gathered around the living room talking about the big news. My father poured glasses of wine and gave everyone a toast to family and new beginnings, and we all clinked our glasses in agreement. I found myself watching them, my sister talking excitedly to my coworkers, my nieces giggling with the neighbors' kids by the fireplace, my parents beaming, and I realized that my heart felt settled in a way it hadn't all evening. Yes, the moment was bittersweet. My perfect quiet future was gone, but it was replaced by something unexpected and beautiful. This house, built from all my hard work, had become a home in the truest sense, a place where family gathers, where children's laughter fills the halls, and where we share not just a roof, but our lives. As I helped tuck the girls and after the party, I thought about how far I had come. This house was my dream, but tonight I learned that dreams can grow. My success meant something different now, not just a solitary achievement, but an opportunity to bring joy to others I love. I walked back to the living room where the party was winding down. Holding a cup of champagne, I made my way to the circle of family and friends. I took a deep breath and decided to say a few words. Everyone quieted down and looked at me expectantly. I just want to say thank you, I began, my voice steady. Thank you all for being here and making this night so special. I have to admit, earlier tonight, I was scared. My sister and her family announced something that changed everything. And I won't lie, at first, I felt overwhelmed. This house was my dream, and suddenly it felt like my future was completely different. But then I realized something. No matter what the plan is, life is so much better when you share it with people you love. My dream house feels even more like home now that it's filled with family. A warm murmur went through the crowd. Rachel gave me a grateful smile. I continued, so here's to new beginnings. To turning a dream into something even bigger, and to family, the love we give each other that truly makes life worth living. There was applause and happy cheering. I looked around at all the faces, and as my eyes settled on Rachel and the girls, I felt at peace. That night taught me an important lesson. Success is wonderful, but it's made meaningful by the people we share it with. My housewarming party had turned into something unexpected. It became a celebration of our family coming together. And in that bittersweet twist of fate, I found a new kind of happiness. I had built a home for myself, and now, seeing it filled with laughter and love, I knew it was exactly where I was meant to be. I've already told the family you're taking them in, my mother declared, brushing imaginary lint from her blouse, as if that settled the matter. The casual finality in her voice was staggering, as though my home, my life, my autonomy were items she could quietly rearrange like the place settings on the dining table downstairs. I straightened, the initial shock in my chest morphing into something steadier, sharper. You told the family? My voice was deceptively calm, like the moment before glass shatters. When exactly did I agree to this? Rachel wiped at her eyes, smudging mascara across her cheekbone. Mom's just trying to help. No, Rachel, I cut in, leveling my gaze between the two of them. Help would have been a phone call. Help would have been honesty. What this is, I gestured to the boxes already packed in the hallway. The hopeful chaos of children's voices echoing from downstairs is manipulation. The room fell heavy with silence. Tom shifted awkwardly near the dresser, his hand lingering on one of the boxes labeled Emma's special things. His expression wavered between embarrassment and exhaustion. Rachel's jaw tensed, her vulnerability cracking into frustration again. We're drowning, Allison. We didn't know what else to do. Ask, I snapped. You ask, Rachel. You don't announce it like a toast at my housewarming party and assume my life, my home, is yours to carve up. Down the hall, I heard little Sophie laughing, carefree, oblivious to the storm brewing upstairs. That sound, the innocence of it, twisted something in me. None of this was their fault. But that didn't mean I was ready to surrender. Tom finally spoke, voice low. We made mistakes. He faltered, exchanging a glance with Rachel that seemed to say we're out of options. We should have handled this differently. Rachel's eyes glistened again, but this time, her tone softened, vulnerable, no longer laced with bitterness. I hate this. I hate needing help. You think I wanted to come here, in front of everyone, and look like the sister who couldn't keep it together. I hesitated, my anger ebbing just slightly. The exhaustion etched into the lines around her eyes. The desperation. They weren't feigned. But still, this is my house, Rachel, I said firmly, my voice low but resolute. It's not just about square footage. Its boundaries respect my life. Rachel opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. I'm not heartless. I'll help, I continued. But on my terms, not like this. My mother frowned, disappointment clouding her face, but for once, I didn't cave under it. Rachel stared at me for a long, tense moment, eyes shimmering with unshed tears, pride warring with helplessness. Finally, her shoulders sagged, the fight draining from her posture. What do you propose? She asked quietly, voice cracking at the edges. I exhaled slowly, already feeling the weight of compromise settling on my shoulders. Let's sit down. Tonight, after the guests leave. No more ambushes, no more assumptions. We talk, just the three of us, and we figure out how to fix this. For a beat, no one spoke. Then Tom nodded, his expression cautiously hopeful. Rachel wiped at her face again, defeated but still clinging to hope. Okay, she whispered. From downstairs, the muffled clinking of glasses and the hum of conversation drifted up, the fragile remnants of the evening I'd imagined so differently. I turned toward the staircase, shoulders squared, every step down feeling like a negotiation between guilt, love, and the fragile grip I had on my independence. The party wasn't over, but the real reckoning had just begun.